You're listening to the Garrett Perry podcast on 88.7 CFUR. I have to say that 4 times per hour.
I like it.
Rich Abney is with me in studio.
Good morning, brother.
Morning radio, man. When's the last time you've been on the radio this early in the morning?
Oh, it's been a long time. I'd have to think about that. They never let me go on the morning show with Mike Benny or Doug Jones. Those guys are such high level.
I remember listening to you on the drive, and you guys were just drone on for minutes and minutes. And I'm like, what are these guys even talking about?
Thanks for reminding Ron Palillo about that. I used to go on every day with Darren Coogan on the drive at 4 o'clock or 4:30 or something like that. And originally it was to tee up the sports that were coming up, and then it turned into something completely different. And every time Ron would be like, that's not good. And then without fail, Darren would get text to, whatever that the service was, and people would really like it. So
yeah, I
just kept going.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't do a heck of a lot of talk on the radio. It was kind of cool to have those little breaks, and especially having 2 local people just have at her.
Yeah, but they had to delay listening to the next Bryan Adams song, though.
Oh, I think people can manage.
You know what? I was happy that you invited me on here, and feeling pretty good about myself. Like, oh, this is cool. Kind of get to step back in and put on a mic and that sort of thing. And then I watched. You had Dan Johnson on, who's got maybe the best voice in Prince George.
He's got a crazy radio voice.
So that hurt my heart. I was like,
why can't I have a sexy voice like Dan Johnson?
Yeah, So my confidence was shot for a while. He's like the voice of everything you hear on the TV and the radio. So.
Yeah, he voiced a lot of ads. He doesn't work with the radio anymore, but he has a legacy.
He does. He used to do the Fun Chaser too.
Yeah.
Like the CKPG Fun. He used to do this whole thing. Yeah, he's got a great voice. I went to broadcasting school with him.
Oh,
he was in radio school while I was in television school.
Yeah, it's like there's like a little tight-knit community of people who went to broadcasting school in this town. It's like everybody knows each other.
Crazy enough to get into it despite a lack of jobs and all that sort of thing. But yeah, it's BCIT. Camille also went there when I was there. She was a year ahead of me in broadcasting school, so I've known her.
Oh, this is like a who's who of...
This is the big PG... Well, I'm a big pop media guy.
Yeah, pop media.
This is a plug for pop. Yeah. Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah, no, I made a video for them with my GP Does PG. Yeah. I did a short video. I think that was even before that Dan worked with them. It was just Camille doing her solo stuff.
Right, before she pulled him out of the CKPG world and into hers. Yeah. So yeah, I love GP Does PG.
Yeah, it's been a great... It was just like a little idea I had, like, whoa, GP Does PG, that name is what sold the concept of the video series for me.
You came up with the name before you came up with the idea?
Yeah, I was in the shower, and I was like, oh, man, that's genius. I had to get out and write it down. I ended up painting it, actually.
Oh, did you?
That little intro, and you don't use it every time, but that GP Does PG, that's the first thing I did.
And you did the song. How early did you do the theme song?
I did that for episode 1, I think, and then I missed it. I ended up forgetting to put it on the very first episode, but it was ready to go.
So it's been on all but the first episode.
No, I forgot it on a couple episodes too, actually. It's like, oh, crap. But my sound guy, he hammered the importance of having that intro at the beginning just to kind of brand.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's all brand. And
I love the idea. I've never seen you shooting it like out in town, but I love the idea that you're walking around. Like I saw the one you did at Foodie Friday. That's what it was, right? Foodie Friday. And I love the idea that you're walking around with the mic, and you have a sound guy, presumably with like a boom or something.
Yeah,
and you have a cameraman. Like you've got a whole production.
Yeah, it wasn't only me that was looking for some outlet to expose their creativity. My camera guy, he loves to... Well, we all do it for free at this point because we're all volunteering.
Yeah.
My sound guy, he was not impressed with some of the sound in the second episode, and that's how it kind of evolved naturally. He's like, he just wanted to see me producing better content.
Sure.
And
quality control.
Yeah, that's possibly what he does.
You have great audio and it's great filming, great video, great shooting. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, Devin Kavanaugh, he shoots everything.
Oh, Devin Kavanaugh.
Yeah, another CKPG.
Devin Kavanaugh.
And Nolan, he worked at CKPG too, actually.
Oh, Noel.
That's how
Nolan Allen.
I got to meet everybody.
I didn't know you had taken every master control guy and brought him into your
I'm just looking for a reason to bring Jeremy in.
Yeah, that's right. Jeremy's doing his own thing, doing
FreezeNet.
He's got an alias. I don't know if I should say his name and then his alias. Maybe that's giving away the...
Oh, yeah, we shouldn't have said that. I forgot he doesn't like to say his
Yeah, his
name.
real name. Yeah, but he does copyright. Like, he's super passionate about copyrights.
Mm-hmm.
That's what his whole website is. And he started it maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I think. I remember him telling me about it.
Yeah.
And me nodding and smiling, partly because I didn't understand, and partly because I thought, who's going to read stuff on copyrights? And he gets like hundreds of thousands of views.
He was telling me that he was beating 250 News at some point when they were still operational.
Right?
I was like, well, that was
he
pretty
buried
impressive.
250 News?
I think so. Just in hits from his website, I think.
Right.
I can't remember what it was.
Wow.
That's what he was telling me, but it was like, oh, that was pretty interesting.
Well, there you go. We'll just keep calling him Jeremy. Maybe that way we don't confuse people
Yeah.
with his alias. You need an alias.
I was thinking about that. GP kind of is an alias, I
Right.
guess, but it's just my initials.
Right. I like it.
Yeah. My on-air radio personality, if I was on a country station, was going to be Grand Prairie Garrett Perry.
I think
Hooting and hollering of a good time.
I think if you're we were talking about this the other day, if you're a country singer, all you do is give yourself 2 first names.
Oh.
You know, like it's like I'm like Luke Bryan.
Luke Bryan,
You
yeah.
know, there's all
Like-
these sort of names like Dirks Bentley. I think those are fringe first names, but
Yeah.
you know, we could come up. I could be Trent Owen.
Trent Owen.
You know what I mean? Like a name like that.
Yeah.
And here's
Think of a budding country career coming on.
yeah. Here's Johnny Jordan with my cow. What's it called? My Saddle Hurts or something.
My Saddle Hurts. That's a great title for a country song.
I'm starting an album.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have my big country song. I just came up with this lyric. If I give you the keys to my truck, you got the keys to my heart.
I like it.
It's my country tune.
I like that a lot. Are you anti-country music? I feel like you wouldn't like country, but maybe you do.
I don't love it.
Right.
But-
Would you go to a country? What would have to happen for you to go to a country concert? The size of the artist?
No, it depends who it is. If it was Joey only, I'd be there in an instant.
Trent
I'm
Owen.
just a big fan of his music.
Yeah. Okay. So you would pay to go to his music?
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
I'm a fan. I have bought his album, and
But I say, okay, Garrett, I got an extra ticket to
Luke Bryan.
Yeah, Keith Urban.
Keith Urban.
You're not going?
No, I'd go. Free ticket? That'd
Right.
be fun.
So it's just like for free you'd see Keith
Yeah,
Urban.
but oh man, his only tickets are $40. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't think I'd spend that much money.
I saw Garth Brooks.
Oh, cool! I
Who's-
heard he's really good.
Unbelievable. This is the when people sort of knock it, this is always the stat I go to, and I'm not really sure what it means, but there's a thing called the Entertainer of the Year Award
Yeah,
at the Country Music Awards, which I've never seen. And it's basically the biggest award you can win is the Entertainer of the Year, and no one else has won more than 2, and he's won 6.
Oh wow.
So I feel like that's a big enough gap that you know that Garth's the guy.
Yeah, exactly. He's the real deal.
He's
He's
the
not
real
no
deal.
auto tune.
Exactly. And
Specialty.
he like runs the whole time and he sweats and he's just like hanging off of stuff and he's like 50 years old.
That's fantastic.
He's awesome. Yeah. So I would see Garth again. What's the best concert you'd ever seen? You've
best
probably seen
concert?
some crazy like small little intimate venues with underground
Definitely.
artists, but how about somebody I've heard of?
Tom Petty.
Yeah,
I went
I've
to go
heard of
see
him.
Tom Petty. He was. I got to see one of his last concerts. I didn't know he was dying.
Yeah, he died. I was gonna say he died, but
Yeah.
I wasn't 100% sure.
I was convinced he was all hopped up on cocaine during his last show, but apparently he wasn't on any illegal drugs. They're all doctor pharmacy drugs, but
Right.
apparently he was on a lot of them.
Right.
And I'm actually
Sad.
on one of the 8 medications he was on. And I was like, oh no.
You know what 8 medications Tom Petty was on?
They put it online, yeah. And I didn't recognize much of them, yeah, except for the antidepressant.
Right. It's
Yeah.
funny what's like private and what's not.
Well, it was
Like the guy dies. It's still interesting. I'm not doubting that. And like, oh, here, by the way, here's all the list of things Tom Petty was putting into his body. Was it like a cautionary tale? Because he was sick.
Yeah, he had a broken leg or something, or a broken hip, and he should have canceled that tour that I saw him on. So he was in an amount of pain that was
Right.
unbearable. So he was on
Painkillers. all sorts,
doctor. And then I guess he actually broke his hip the rest of the way, and he was just self-medicating with his medication and overdosed. That's what I heard.
That's a real downer.
That is a real
Thanks,
downer.
Garrett. Let's talk about an alive artist.
Metallica. I saw them a few days prior. Like I went and I bought the Tom Petty tickets to go see him because I was a huge fan.
Sure.
And I went and saw Metallica just because coincidentally they were playing 3-4 days beforehand.
Sure. How were they?
They were awesome. They played forever.
Yeah, they're getting old too.
Yeah.
Well, they've gotten old actually. It's not even a current state. They're old now, aren't they?
I would say they're like in their 50s, late 50s. They're definitely... Lars looked old, their drummer. He's definitely showing it more than everybody else.
What about, like... Do you find that there's... I'm not an expert on this, but do you find that there's less, like, iconic rock bands now? And if so, why? We were having this discussion the other day, and I'm like, why aren't bands not reaching the level of... Mind you, like, Foo Fighters, those guys are enormous. And, like, where are
it's pretty rare. Maybe Kings of Leon, I would say, are up there now.
Sure.
But it's hard to reach that level of, I don't know, just, I think it's classic radio playing these old tunes from the 70s over and over again, not playing any new stuff. It's hard to get new classics.
Yeah, that could be it. Though, like, are that many people consuming rock music on the radio? Is that where they get it? Nowadays, like, for a band to now reach a new level, it has to be due to digital buys and streaming and all that sort of thing, right?
Yeah, radio is just a small part of it. I remember the GOAT, they used to play a lot of stuff, and I remember hearing, it wasn't me specifically learning about this content, but it was my friends listening to the GOAT and learning about all these new bands. They would occasionally, but it was like a feature that they did on the hour or something.
Sure. I just don't know how bands now, or what's keeping bands now from reaching that level. Do you know what I mean? Like,
maybe like also like the laziness. People aren't going out to see shows as much.
Yeah.
The people are entertained at home with the internet fully.
It's also hard, I think, to have a long run now. You know, from like, there's so many more artists that are available to people.
Yeah.
Because anyone can go and put out music, and you might have a great album, but you don't then have the grace of 5 years to come up with your next one, for example, right?
Yeah, you're expected to come out with your next one in a crazy amount of time.
In fact, like, you're supposed to, I think now, release music before the album. You know, you just release singles that aren't even on an album now to sort of maintain your fan base, I think. Or maybe it's just because you have something to share at that point. But it's interesting. Every rock band you think of, the great rock bands, none of them are new. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, the band that opened up for Tom Petty was the Lumineers.
Yeah.
And I picked up one of their albums
Sure.
years prior, and I was almost more excited to see the Lumineers than I was to see Tom Petty.
Yeah, they're good, yeah. But they're not like a Metallica style.
But then again, I wouldn't say that Metallica is at the same level that they have been.
No, but we're still talking about them. Like, you went to a Metallica show and they've been out for 30 years. Right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I don't have an answer to this. I just like putting hypotheticals out. This feels like the right format for that.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a conversation, right?
On CFUR radio.
88.7 CFUR. Oh, we're early.
Oh, shoot. Well, I just bought you a little time now. You
can, yeah, no.
I'll just do the next one.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
we'll just leave it.
88.7? Okay. My first job in radio was when I was in high school in Kelowna. I worked for 101.3, I want to say. Shoot. Silk FM. Oh, yeah, it's the same as 101.5 Silk FM.
So close.
Yeah, CILK, but it was Silk FM, and I was on the Fun Finding events team.
Fun Finding?
Yeah, we went and found a lot of fun, me and my team.
So wait, so you weren't like the main fun finder?
No, I wasn't.
Was there a main fun finder, or was there just a team?
I think, like, I don't know if she had a title, like the main fun finder, but yeah, she certainly got to do 98% of the radio call-ins, whereas I was like tying balloons around kids' wrists.
Nice.
But just to like get a paycheck from the radio station. And then I job shadowed at a place called Power, which is a radio station down there, for a guy named Dirtman Dan. Was my boss's name.
Dirtman Dan.
Yeah, he's still in it. He has like a long, at the time he had a long ponytail and he had handlebar mustaches, and he used to put his ponytail through the hole in the back of his hat. The underused hat hole. Right?
I was wondering, is there a reason for that besides adjusting the size? But I guess it's a ponytail.
It's a Dirtman pony hole.
Dirtman.
Yeah, so
shout out.
Yeah, shout out to Dirtman. I'm sure he's listening to CFUR.
This early in the morning.
88.7.
He was wondering what all the dead air space was doing.
That's right. Early. I heard about this. So, yeah, that was when I remember I got to maybe do 3 call-ins that summer. And I was so nervous.
Just covering for the Fun Finder?
No, she was there, but she's like, you get to do one. I've done one on the hour for the last 6 hours. And I'm like, okay, sweet. And I like scribbling it down on paper. And when you're scribbling, very hard to read your own writing,
Yeah.
especially live on the radio. And you also get, that live on location sounds like, it's not like this sort of, you just take your time and talk.
No,
and you have to sound excited, and you have to go really quickly, and you're at like something that's not that exciting. You're at the Brick is having, I shouldn't knock the Brick, but the Brick is having a blowout of sectional couches or something, and you're like, you got to get down here. We're down here at the Brick having an absolute, like this sort of thing. And then you finish, and you're like, what just happened to me? It was my first radio experience. Like, oh. And I remember going home to my mom and telling her, like, Mom, I was on the radio for 12 seconds today. Like, this is big, mind-blowing. Yeah.
That's awesome.
She was the type of, she still is the type of mom that thinks that her children can do anything, as many moms do. But her thoughts were always grandiose. They were like, I remember her telling me I should write into David Letterman, tell him I want to co-host the show, and he'll for sure have me on. Oh man,
did you do that? Did you write him a letter?
Because even as like an 11-year-old, I was like,
understand
that seems ridiculous, right?
Yeah, your mom sounds like she's crazy. There's like delusions of grandeur going on here for you.
Right. So, but like in the most loving way possible. And then I remember she really liked the Rosie O'Donnell show. And I like that. Remember Rosie O'Donnell used to shoot the koosh balls at like every...
That's the only thing I can remember from that show, just how she ended.
Like the thing would be above the audience, the target, and she'd try and hit that with the koosh ball. And I remember being like, oh, I want it. That's so fun. And she's like, oh, you should write into Rosie. Like she just thought that
she might have had you on before Letterman.
Yeah, Letterman's like my all-time hero. So like even in that moment, I'm like, oh, I'm an 11-year-old from Canada who doesn't have a particular set of skills for anything. Maybe I won't write my hero a letter. So
maybe he's on Netflix now. Maybe now's the time to write him a letter.
I should write him a letter. I'm sure he doesn't hear from very many crazy people.
He probably doesn't hear anything. He's like, "Where's my fans at?"
Right
now, he's not on TV every day.
He's got a lot of. He's an interesting guy. What he does, and I think I really enjoy about him, is that for the most part, I think he's the smartest guy in the room. And I think he has a shtick where he's the least intelligent guy in the room. Not that he plays, like, he doesn't say dumb things, but he's okay playing that role, if that makes any sense. And I kind of respect that about him. There takes a certain amount of confidence to not have to flex if you're intelligent at that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, he kind of comes across like a buffoon sometimes when he's interviewing Paris Hilton. And I'm like, oh, he has more intelligence in his baby finger than Paris Hilton. But he's, like, at her level, right? You know what I mean? Like, I love David Letterman. I have a wall inside my house, of course. Just a wall. In
a shrine.
Yeah, kind of. And it's got framed pictures of a bunch of people that I glean some sort of wisdom from. Like people that I look up to for one particular thing. And he's on that wall. I have a framed picture of him on my wall. Fun fact.
Nice. Who else is on your wall?
Norm Macdonald.
Norm Macdonald is hilarious.
My favorite comedian of all time.
He's crazy.
He's like just fearless.
He is my favorite. One of my favorite movies he acts in. Dirty Work.
Dirty Work, yeah.
That's classic.
He wrote Dirty Work.
Did he write it?
Yeah.
I know.
Bob Saget directed
That's what I was trying to remember.
It was Chris Farley's last movie.
Really?
Yeah. Don Rickles is in that movie. Sandman's in that movie. Oh yeah.
Artie Lang is hilarious.
Artie Lang's.
I want to see more of him too.
Yeah, Artie Lang has had his own issues since then, but yeah, he certainly made a good gig of it on the Howard Stern show. But
cool.
He was on Stern for years, but.
He does just stand-up comedy now, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, he's had some.
He had like a huge nose. He's like he was doing some bunk cocaine or something, and his nose swelled up. I saw a picture. They're talking about it on the Joe Rogan podcast. I was like, oh wow.
I went down and I saw Norm on my birthday.
Oh, cool.
I always said that if he was anywhere near, I would try and go to his show, and then. There was one in Edmonton, and it was sold out. And then was off tour again. And then all of a sudden, he was going to Kelowna, my hometown, on my birthday. And I thought, well, this is...
just kismet.
I gotta get there. So I went, and I loved it. It's unbelievable.
Nice. Did anybody else have that show on the show? Or was it just solo? No.
He had like an opener, I think, like a Canadian guy who played the guitar, kind of did that sort of almost a Mitch Hedberg style one-liner, but while playing the guitar, that sort of setup and delivery. So.
Yeah. One of Mitch Hedberg's first album, he had a bass player going on, and it's just like such a soothing album.
While he was telling jokes?
Yeah, and it's so funny. He's hilarious, but like just having this like soothing bass line going on in the laugh track is great comedy album.
He is excellent, or he was excellent.
He was one of my favorite comedians. I think it might be one of the all-time favorites of mine.
Yeah, you like that style?
Yeah,
it's a tough style to replicate. Like I was wondering, now we're so
he's got such a unique style. It would be hard to try to replicate it without ripping him off.
Right, which is funny. Like he just now, it's the Mitch Hedberg style to do that. Just like one line of setup, one line of delivery, move on. One, you know what I mean? Like it's Rodney Dangerfield kind of did it, but he did it such rapid fire and sort of self-deprecating, whereas it was a lot about him, and his big shtick down the stretch was that he got no respect, and it would just be line after line after line.
Yeah,
and he would kill. He was a great joke teller, but Hedberg, it was not like related to him whatsoever. It was just like observational comedy written into like brilliantly into these one-liners, and he was excellent, really good. So I love stand-up comedy. I've been watching quite a bit of it on Netflix, and
Netflix has been awesome for stand-up comedy. They have been putting on so many specials. It's almost overwhelming.
Yeah, it's too much actually. But if I don't have enough time to, let's say, watch a movie, or if I know I'm going to fall asleep, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's not like you're going to miss the story of this whole stand-up.
Or I can stop it halfway through and start it again another time, as opposed to like stopping a movie halfway through. It ruins it for me. I can't reconnect. I watched Spy Game recently, which is Brad Pitt and Robert Redford, and there's so much like spy lingo in it. That shows how much I know about spies, but spy lingo, that's what they call it. That I stopped it with like 40 minutes ago because I was falling asleep. I had no idea what they were talking about when I pressed play the next day. I was like, what is happening here? So stand-up comedy is my new approach for if I'm falling asleep soon. I'll mix in 20 minutes of this and then.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that they have so much comedy. Like they have Dave Chappelle's making content.
He did the two. Yeah, they paid him $60 million or something.
$60 million? Yeah.
And he already had one recorded.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
How does...
You got to imagine just having something in your closet, and then somebody says, hey, I'll come along, and I'll give you $60 million for that thing you already made.
That would be pretty dope.
Would you ever do stand-up?
Yeah, I've been thinking about it for the last about month or so. Or no, actually, I think I wrote it down on June 28th in my journal. I am a comedian, because I wanted to start it out like
speak it into existence in a way.
Exactly, yeah. Like I was doing, it was kind of like a mantra of some sorts, because I used to have one about being a filmmaker or something. But I think I'm already a filmmaker. I make documentary films now on Facebook. I never thought I would go down that route until I started doing it. It just seemed kind of natural, and it seems.
Well, were you a filmmaker once you wrote it, or were you a filmmaker once you made a film? Like, are you now? You haven't done comedy yet, but you wrote you are a comedian. So, are you a comedian?
I'm a comedian.
Okay.
Yeah, and then just like a filmmaker who has projects in various stars, but I have official films now. But
sure. Comedy's. What I love about comedy, I've taken this from Norm a little bit, so this isn't an original thought necessarily, but it's one I've paid thought to. It's like the only art, I'm not including, let's say, painting. Painting will forever be painting, I think. Styles will change and whatnot, but in terms of performance, that hasn't changed and probably will never change.
Yeah.
It's a guy or a girl, a man or a woman,
just standing
there trying to make you laugh with just telling jokes. There's no, and when you go to the show, that's what's crazy about what they do and the bravery of a comedian, is that you don't want to go see him do the jokes you saw him do on the Netflix special.
Yeah, once they do that Netflix special, they got to drop that material.
For sure. Once there's any sort of like television coverage, or once, like a lot of comedians won't allow cell phones, like, because they don't want their stuff that they're working on, they're working on bits.
Right, that's what Dave Chappelle did for his specials too, I believe. They have a special little bag, so you put your cell phone in,
right,
and it'll vibrate, and then you could leave if you need to answer your phone.
Oh,
so
wow.
you still have that possibility, but it keeps you sucked into the show and focused.
And it doesn't ruin it for everybody else.
Yeah.
So like a comedian in 100 years is still going to be someone standing up in front of a dark room trying to make them laugh. Whereas, like, if you go to we'll use a rock concert, because we were talking about that earlier, you want to hear them play all their songs that you know.
They start playing new music.
Yeah, it's like, what is this?
No,
like, play the
garbage.
stuff that I already know.
Play Honky Tonk Woman, Rolling Stones.
That's
I
right.
don't want to hear anything new.
So how crazy is that like let's say a comedian that's had a long career, Chappelle would be a good example. He's been around for a long time. He has to always be working on something new, and yet his goal is the same. So people go because they liked your last joke or your last show, but there's no guarantee they're going to like this show. Whereas like a singer has the guarantee that every person in Rogers Arena that night has their album, knows their songs, and is going to sing along.
Yeah.
It's weird, right?
It is weird. Jerry Seinfeld's Netflix special kind of broke out of that a little bit because he started telling jokes, old jokes.
Right.
All the jokes that he did before he was famous or something.
Yeah.
But a lot of those jokes he did on Seinfeld. It seemed a lot of...
Yeah, his humor is never really changed, but he when he went on Letterman for the last time, he was on Letterman's first month ever. So like 37 years ago or something. On his last appearance, he did the exact same set he did 37 years ago or whatever. So it's sort of like a meta performance. Like, I'm going to tell... If there's one comedian that can get away with it, it's Seinfeld, because his jokes, they're not time sensitive, really. You know, like...
No, it's
unless it's like a
observational.
cell phone thing. It's more that, like... How long should you hold the door open for the person behind you? You know, like this sort of thing. Like, that's forever been... That was a very bad Jerry Seinfeld.
That was fantastic. I loved
What's
it.
the deal with all... I can't do that. I promised someone that I wasn't going to do any impressions when I
Really?
came on here.
What?
Because I'm not very good at them.
Oh, what's your best impression? Now I'm curious.
I don't have any good ones. I did Bill Cosby, but I've had to retire him.
Yeah, no, he's a little taboo now.
Yeah.
After
They cringe even when you're talking about Jell-O or pudding pops. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So he's really ruined that for me.
he's ruined his impression of himself for you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that, bud.
Yeah. I feel worse for others involved, but yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, I don't have any good impressions.
Well, that's a shame.
Denzel Washington?
Nice.
I like doing impressions that I can't do. We talked about this back in the day, because you're a painter, and I'm very unartistic.
But you attempted painting. Yeah.
But I did that because I'm not good at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you get to a certain age, I think we'll say when you get to be an adult, whatever age that is, if that's a consistent thing, you stop doing things you're not good at because there's no reason to.
Yeah, I guess.
You know what I mean? Like, well, why would
when
I
you're
go...
a kid, you just do everything.
or you're
suck at
forced to
everything.
in school. Like, oh, I'm bad at baseball, but I have to play baseball. Or I'm terrible at whatever, acting, but I'm in drama class. Like, there's all these sorts of things that you have to do. And at whatever reason, when you're out of school, you stop trying anything that you aren't already either very interested in or good at. So that's why I bought all those canvases. Dollar store, like yourself, I think. You're
Yep.
a dollar store canvas guy. Dollar store paints, dollar store brushes.
Yeah.
'Cause I didn't want it to be an expensive habit and be like, oh, now I'm stuck with like all these
It can
$23
get expensive.
bottles of acrylic paint. You know what I mean? So I just kept it so that if at any point I just didn't do it, I wouldn't be sitting on like thousands of dollars worth of paint materials.
Yeah,
right?
very early on in my painting career, I decided to do 100 cats on 100 canvases.
Yeah.
So I went out and bought, and even buying 100 canvases, it gets expensive.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
that's
over $100.
$1.25. Yeah, and the other ones were like $2 or $3 at the. So
Yeah.
it's getting up there to like
sure.
$300
Yeah.
of just canvases. Like,
But what I did to sort of justify, because I've probably got stacks of, maybe I probably have 100 paintings done. They're just stacks in my house, which
Nice.
is really weird. I'm sure if I were to the police would to storm my house one day, they'd be like, "What is going on with this guy? He's just got paintings everywhere." But
yeah, I did the same thing. I just kind of kept them all in a pile, but now I hung them all up on one wall.
Cool.
So it's kind of like a little museum to myself.
right, yeah, what I tried to break it down, like to justify it from that cost standpoint, is that okay, well, even though it's just dollars, like you mentioned, it can add up if you got all these different paints and brushes and canvases. Well, if it takes me X amount of hours to do a painting, or to do 5 paintings, however you want to break it down, it's actually a pretty good value.
Oh, definitely.
You're not spending elsewhere at that time. So I would throw on, like, for example, a stand-up comedy special on my iPad, and I would sit there and I would paint, and suddenly like 4 hours would go by. And I think like, okay, well, I used $2 store canvases, $5, it cost me $8 for 4, like I'm paying $2 an hour. Like that's a great
return of investment.
That's an excellent return ROI. Yeah. So that's sort of the way I broke it down. I'm like, oh man, did I just buy $44 worth of dollar store canvases? When am I getting? But it makes sense in the long run. So,
what do you end up painting?
I'm not. I can't just paint, if that makes any sense. Like I couldn't just. If you said paint me, I couldn't do it. If you said paint a bowl, I couldn't do it. Like I'm not good at just putting brush to canvas.
Yeah,
if that makes any sense. But so I defined what I liked doing, because I did like the feeling of finishing a painting. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Seeing the progress. I'm obviously hugely into sports, so I know I'm not good enough to just paint like a football player either. Mm-hmm. So I found like my favorite athletes, their jersey numbers, I would paint in the font that's on there. I guess every jersey has a different sort of number font and that sort of thing. This might sound very uninteresting to you, but I would paint their jersey number, like from the back of their jersey, and in the correct colors and et cetera, et cetera. And I did 1 and then 2 and then 3, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of fun. Then I'd be looking at other athletes that I liked, and oh, that's a fun one. And then my brothers were like, hey, my younger brother was like, I've got a man cave. Like, can you paint a couple of my favorite athletes' jerseys? So I did a Tim Tebow Broncos and a Rajon Rondo Boston Celtics or something. And then more friends who like had played sports, let's say junior hockey or things like that. Then I did their jerseys, and eventually it's sort of I just did so many, and now I'm starting to try to do them for the UNBC graduating athletes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, just because
Timberwolves.
Yeah. My brother, I was with him last week, and he's like, why don't you try to sell those like at the farmer's market for $10 or something? And I thought, that's the opposite of what I want to do, because then I've got to look at it the other way. Look
at it as a business.
Yeah, then I'm like, oh, that took me 3 hours, and I just sold it for $10. My time is worth $3.33. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather not do that. I'd rather give something to somebody.
I feel the exact same way. I've never sold a painting yet. I've given a few away as presents, and people haven't asked about paintings. I just gave it to them.
Right. It
was kind of.
That's what I'm going to do for Christmas. I'm just going to give everyone paintings they didn't ask for.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. It's a gift made from the heart. That's what they always say.
When does that stop being the thing? You know, like when you're a kid, you give your mom a macaroni necklace, or I think I remember making my mom earrings or things. I think we used to make perfume, where we'd get water into a jar, like a wide mouth mason or something, and then we put flower petals in it, shake it up, and give my mom like a jar of perfume.
That's pretty creative.
And she would dab her finger, and put it behind her ear and that sort of thing. But that was, if I did that now, she would think something's wrong with me.
She might love it.
She might love it. I might do a throwback gift for her, just a bunch of things I
used to do when you were
she liked in the mid-90s, and hopefully they still have the same charm,
Yeah. I don't know, a macaroni card might not have the same charm today.
You don't know until you try. Yeah, you don't know, man. So you keep checking. We're being filmed right now, but I can't see. Oh yeah, I'm in there. Okay.
Yeah, you're pretty far. I haven't quite figured out mastering filming myself yet.
For the people listening, I showed up in a ball cap, which isn't surprising, and flip-flops, and Garrett is wearing suspenders, a tie, and a collared shirt. So I didn't know I was coming into a high-class podcast recording.
I normally don't dress up. I usually just wear whatever I'm wearing, but I'm dressed up today because I'm planning on dropping off a resume and applying in person, so I got to make some first impressions.
Right.
After this, I'm going to go to Work BC, and we're going to look over my resume and my cover letter, so
good for you. Make
this count.
Yeah, good for you, man. That's awesome. That's we're not talking about the job you're applying for, are we? Or
better not, I guess.
We won't.
Yeah.
Well, it's the type of thing that I think you'd be good at. Maybe next week, when you've got the job, you can tell people.
Yeah, for sure.
With whoever you have on the next podcast.
I don't know who's going to be my next guest. I was thinking about it. I want to get Britt AM to come on the show, but I think she's off doing the festival circuit right now.
Yeah, she's playing some shows and whatnot.
Yeah, so I don't think I'll be able to get her.
She she's performed at a couple things that I've emceed before. She's very good.
Yeah, she's put together a record label right here in Prince George, Good Egg Records.
Good Egg Records.
Yeah, Dan Johnson is signed to them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like Flying Machine?
Yeah.
Flying Machine, I believe they've changed at least one member.
Yeah, their keyboardist,
who used to be Steve Cote.
Yeah, he left the band, and instead of getting another keyboardist, they brought in a fiddle player.
That's right. So
I haven't seen them since they've switched over, but I'm
right. You're a Steve Cote loyalist. That's why.
Exactly. I love Steve. I'm like,
it's like Queen without Freddie. You're not an Adam Lambert guy.
No.
I hear you.
Paul Rogers, maybe.
Right. They when they first started, it's 4 guys that worked at CKPG, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
But they played our staff part, like our Christmas staff party.
That's right.
So the year before, we'd had like a DJ, and then the next year it was Dan Johnson and the Flying Machine, and it was excellent. I love Dan Johnson's voice.
Speaking of his radio voice, it's so perfect.
Yeah, it was excellent. So, and then Camille just sat like front row and loved it. Like she's
their number one fan.
She is a huge Flying Machine fan. So it's awesome. It's good for her. It's good for them. It's great. So I keep drinking water. Can you hear a bottle?
I think so. It's all good.
Sorry.
No worries. It's community radio. No one cares. It's like, at least it's not dead air.
Oh, yeah. What station are we on?
88.7 CFUR.
That was good.
Thank you. That was forced.
Have you done radio before?
Yeah. I've been on the radio since 2015. Been at CFIS.
Oh, right. At CFIS. Sorry.
And then I kind of came up here a couple years later, or maybe only about a year later.
Do you find yourself putting on a radio voice?
When I'm doing the plugs sometimes,
right?
But in this conversation that we're having now,
no, you're not right now. Yeah,
no.
I know. But when you're doing a plug, for example, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I definitely do have a radio voice. Yeah, you're listening to 88.7 CFUR.
That was a big thing when we were in broadcasting school. Is getting that delivery. Now, a news delivery might be a little bit different anyway, a little less. I mean, it shouldn't be less conversational, but it ends up being a little less conversational, I think.
Yeah.
And how do you avoid getting that sort of that choppy news cadence, but also not sounding unprofessional? You know what I mean? It was a big challenge. I know for me it was tough because even just speaking now, I don't like put a ton of effort into just speaking. So I had to like bring more energy. Like, this is where I prefer to speak, right here.
Yeah.
But like when you're on the news, you have like, it's a little bit more of that, a little more enunciation and that sort of thing. So it's I used to hear some people, and we thought they were so good in broadcasting school, and they are. There are some excellent people in my class. They would put on this voice, and I was like, oh, that guy's so good, or that girl's so good. Like, why do I sound like a dummy? And like,
yeah, but it comes off coming as phony.
Well, that's the tough part. You have
to
you got to be careful about it, right? So I like watching. I now know a number of people that are on the news in Vancouver or whatever, and when you hear them talking on the news, you think, oh, that's nothing like how they speak. And I don't know if that's good or bad.
I think it's a bad thing. I think having the more conversational part is the correct direction, being more real.
Right.
Putting your sleeve on your heart kind of thing.
Right. I remember being nervous about, like, it seems ironic because you assume in a broadcasting class, it's just all A-types. It's all people that want to be heard. You know what I mean? Like, I'm so confident that if you're getting into television, for example, or you're getting into radio, you think you've got something to say, or you want to tell stories, or whatever that might be. So, I remember in Rosa Marcatelli's class, she's a CBC anchor. She was one of our teachers. There was like a 2-paragraph read. This was only a couple weeks into school in first year, and I remember it snaking towards me, like in the class, and thinking,
oh, no,
and me watching the clock, thinking like, I'm hoping we run out of time.
Yeah.
And it ran out of time, maybe one person after me, and I had to go. And by then, you're so wound up because you've heard so many people do it, and they're all more talented than you are, or so you think. And that happened over and over and over again, where you just were so nervous. And when I started at CKPG, I know you didn't ask this, but just in talking about nerves, I was extremely nervous. And Catherine Hansen was the first person I ever anchored with. She's been there since she was 10, so for 20 years. And she's she's tough, right? But she's awesome. And the teleprompter used to be in our hand. We used to control the teleprompter with a remote. It's now
a foot
pedal, and in the big markets, it's someone does it for you. That's the dream.
In Terrace,
when someone rolls your words for you.
In Terrace, they just have a mouse. They use the wheel. Yeah,
exactly. So, but at this point, it was in the hand, and I remember handing it back to her, and then handing it back to Aileen Machel or Dave or whoever for the first while, and it would be soaking wet. And they would Aileen would slide it back to me, like, dry that thing off before I take that,
just so
in
offended.
the sweetest way possible. But I was like, oh my god! So I'd rub it like on my pants to dry this thing off, and then hand her like a damp teleprompter controller, and it was so embarrassing. But I thought I was gonna get fired every day when I started. So to be here with you on 88.7 CFUR, CFUR. What do we say?
You got it.
Yeah, thanks.
The fur. And you switched careers. You're no longer in television. You are working with the Timberwolves.
I'm working with the Timberwolves, yeah. I'm working at the athletic department. It's a tough thing. I sort of, quite honestly, when I was at the TV station, I had a decent amount of success. But I was starting to get tired.
Mm-hmm. You were busy working.
Working every day because I was anchoring Monday to Friday, but when do the sports games happen? Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So with no cameraman and no editor, in order for me to get all local, right? I sort of made a decision not to use any pro sports on our CKPG news.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a lot easier to click and get the Canucks highlights from the day before than go out to the Duchess Park senior girls basketball game against Kelly Road and then run over to that practice and then I know the gym, it's a lot easier to fill 2 minutes if you just press a button as opposed to go shoot it. But I never showed a Canucks game or anything in that time, but I was just tired. And so I had received a couple job offers in broadcasting, and I thought, do I want to start over and maybe have this be my life again? You know what I mean? Not that I loved my life. I have a love affair with TV. I couldn't have been happier to do what I was doing. But I thought, I can't do this forever. Just work this much and et cetera.
Work is hard. Having that 100% local broadcasting was...
And I would have been disappointed in myself to suddenly be like, okay, we're doing half as much local. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this opportunity came up, and it was a chance to still work in sports, still work with athletes, which is the best. Like young people are the best.
Mm-hmm.
And then still do media stuff. I'm still writing. I'm still covering games. We've introduced highlights now. So we produce our own highlights and some feature stories and some things that maybe they weren't doing up here before. And that's a chance for me to sort of flex the creative muscles a little bit and, scratch that itch a little bit.
Yeah.
While still within the realm of this job, and it helps the athletes and it grows the school. And so, and I got to stay in Prince George, which was nice. So, where I've, you make connections and you've got a little bit of name recognition and you've created friendships and that sort of thing. So
that seems to be a common story with people who come here for broadcasting jobs. They fall in love with the community a bit and end up staying, and then broadcasting isn't where they end up. They end up working somewhere else.
For sure. There's lots of people in town that I didn't even know once worked, let's say, at CKPG or at the radio station, and it's like, I had no idea you were the fun chaser. There's a realtor in town, Colin Bredner. He does the Prince George podcast at Prince George. It used to be called PG Advice Givers Podcast. It's changed now.
Okay.
And apparently he was the fun chaser, and I didn't know that. Like, there's all these...
Yeah. I was so excited when I found out that Scott Dunbar was once the master control operator.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And even Reg at CFIS, he was the master controller.
Right. Potential city councilor Kyle Sampson.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. I can't believe he's running. He's so young.
Oh, you can't believe?
I can't believe it.
Oh, I can believe it. Yeah.
I want to get him on the podcast and talk about the PWB stuff that he works, his job. Yeah. I'm more interested in his job than the city council, to be honest.
Yeah, he's a gifted guy. When I don't know how much you worked with him up close because you're kind of in opposite ends of the building in a way, but he was the guy that knew. I would get a text from him at like 11:30 at night saying like, "Hey man, you should check page 42 of our union book." I'm like, what? Like, I didn't even know where my union book was. And then like, I would find it, and it would say something directly related to my job. And he was so aware of... He's a super aware guy. That would be the best way to put it. He's super in tune, which would make him an excellent city councilor, I think.
Oh, yeah.
He knows what everyone's doing and what everyone's expected to be doing, and where people could be doing more and where people are doing too much. And he was an interesting guy to work with. I really liked working with him. So it'd be interesting to see how he does in November. I think
he'll make it. I don't see why not. He's popular enough, and he's got the look. Like,
he's got the look. He's gonna like that you said that.
He's got a suit on most of the time.
Right. He likes the suit and jean like the blazer and jeans combo. That's the Kyle Sampson look, I think.
I always see the picture from the waist up, so I never see the jeans.
Right. Just trust me.
Okay, I believe you.
Just trust me. He's wearing denim.
Yeah. Dave Fuller announced that he's running for city council as well. He used to own Ave Maria.
Oh.
Yeah, and he sold out to his business partner. He was trying to buy him out, but he ended up getting bought out.
Cool.
And he does health-related. He used to be on CFIS. He did Health First, that radio show.
Good for him.
For years.
He's got a bit of a name then, like that people recognize and that sort of thing. Oh, cool.
I'd probably vote for him. I definitely like him. Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. You got 2 more months to decide.
2 more months. Yeah, maybe I'll do some sort of city special. I don't know.
Yeah, get like counselors in here.
Yeah,
potential.
I had the
create a debate show.
It wasn't city councilors. It was like the next step up. Whatever.
Like MPs.
Yeah, the MPs, and they were running for that.
MLAs?
Yeah, and everybody was running. I had everybody on the Garrett and Carl show.
Oh, with Garrett and Carl, I love that show.
Yeah, it was.
Like Todd and...
Did he make it? I don't know if Todd made it.
Todd's the MP.
Yeah, he's the one. Like, I had everybody else that didn't get elected.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it was awesome. The NDP people.
Right.
I don't know. I think we only covered one side of the Prince George election, so we only had 4 people.
Right.
Or 3 people coming.
Cool. Look at you dipping your toe in the political pool.
It was tough. I didn't no idea what to do.
It's for sure. No. I'm with you on that.
I don't know if I voted that time around. I don't know.
I'm just going to let it be silent for now.
Just be silent. Did you vote?
Yes.
Who did you vote for?
Not saying.
Not saying. That's a personal issue. I voted for the NDP. It's
interesting that people are so protective of who they vote. I just do it because it seems like that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm not personally offended by any... Like, I don't think...
But
it's not offensive.
Once you start getting into that politics, people start getting heated, and it used to be a thing where you don't
someone's
talk
get
about
heated
it
with me because of who I voted for in like a civic election, then like that's weird to me. I don't know. It's like wait, you know what I mean? Like when it's like what I guess it's different for. It seems to be different in females and males, so I shouldn't dip too far into that. But
would this election be the mayor running as well?
Civic election. So it's the mayor, city council, and school board trustees.
And school board. I wonder if anybody's going to be running against Lynn.
No one has announced.
No one has announced as of yet.
Right. Maybe I'll announce right now.
What? That would be awesome. That would be breaking news.
No, I love Mayor Hall.
Lynn is awesome.
We did a thing on Coog and I were on the drive, and we talked about Mayor Hall and how he needs to be the mayor because he looks like a mayor.
He does.
You know what I mean?
And he's got a great personality, and he's always out there. He loves being in front of the camera. You always see him on CKPG.
His dad, I'm going to get this slightly wrong, so hopefully he doesn't fact check me, but I think his dad worked at the TV station in like Dawson Creek or something. I can't remember where he's from, which is too bad. But it's a northern community, and I hope I'm getting that right. Anyways, one day when he was in high school, he went in there and the weather person, man or woman, let him do the weather on the TV, and he thought that's what he wanted to do, was like be on the news.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
and then
something like
politics.
That. He told me the story once in like a busy gym, so I'm getting something probably slightly wrong, but yeah, it's he's an interesting cat. I like him a lot.
Yeah.
And his daughters are both former UNBC Timberwolves.
Oh, no way.
His daughter, they're twins, but his daughter Jordan is the all-time Canada West saves leader. She's a goalkeeper. And Sydney is second all-time in goals for UNBC. They're excellent soccer players.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd vote
nice
for him
girls.
again.
Because now that you know that you'd also be supporting the Timberwolves.
Yeah, exactly.
Got
That's
it.
the only reason.
Branding. I like that. Thank you.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah?
I'm trying to do the best I can.
That's always the good thing to do.
I did lose my job recently, so that kind of is a big bummer.
I follow you on social media. I saw some of that.
Yeah, I felt like I had to put it out there just because it is a part of my story. And the fact that it was social media that ended up being the fault of my termination.
Can we talk about it?
Yeah.
You applied for a job that within the same company, didn't get it.
And I was frustrated because it was
tweeted
like
that like you were mad
time.
about it, basically, and like that you were frustrated, and then you were let go after that.
Yeah.
That's did you interview for the job?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, because I was a part of the union, every job that I applied for, I had an interview for.
Right. And was the interview, you've interviewed for that same job a few times, yes?
Yeah.
And have the interviews been any different?
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, I started doing my own work, doing GP does PG.
But, like, from their end, like, have they approached it any differently? I know that you've been doing work on, to, I don't want to say better yourself, because that sounds wrong, but you've been doing things that you think will advance you in that sphere. But was it different from their end? Did it feel like they were more interested in your work? Did it feel...
Yeah, I think so. At different points. Depends on the job. I had another interview shortly before the Fun Chaser that didn't go well. It was a terrible interview. Like, obviously, they had no plan on ever hiring me for a full-time job. The Fun Chaser was a part-time gig.
Right.
And it just felt like it was going to be impossible to move forward. And I should have probably quit, but I couldn't do that. I couldn't make myself quit. So I think getting fired was the right thing.
So now does that mean that you've moved on from that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely. It's time to move forward.
The funny thing is that I got to be careful how I talk about it because I worked there for a long time. But I don't know if they've hired a new Fun Chaser. Have they hired one?
Yeah. They did.
So I don't know who it is, but I think GP does PG is getting a bigger and bigger following. So if you can take anything from that, it's that you've created your own platform.
Mm-hmm. And now it's almost like time to start getting sponsored for it.
Well, yeah, I mean, who knows? Like, if you just keep growing, right? Like, there's a girl that I used to work with. I shouldn't say girl. There's a very talented female broadcaster that I used to work with at CKPG. And she is a success. She's excellent. And she's working in broadcasting as we speak. And she applied for 60 jobs before she got her next job. So...
Whoa.
They say it's the hardest thing to get your foot in the door, right? Like that first job is like in sports. There's like less than 10 sports guys in BC. Like just to get the first one is almost impossible, right? Mm-hmm. She got that first job, and then she applied. She had 60. She applied for 60 jobs before she got another job. So from the outside, she's a success because
she got the job,
and she is a success. Let me make that clear, but. To people that don't know, she applied for 60 other jobs. Well, like, what if she had stopped applying or stopped going after it at 58 or 59? Or more realistically and
10.
humanly, after 7.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be doing 60 job applications. So, I remember her telling me that when she got the next job. She's moved on to 2 more jobs since she left CKPG. I remember her telling me that, and I thought, oh no, I got to hear no 60 times before I even potentially hear a yes. It's a funny thing.
It's like living in a world of rejection.
Yeah, but there's the person that gets the first job, right? Like I remember hearing Ryan Reynolds. Now he's a special case because he's a handsome dude, but he moved down to California, drove down in his Jeep. I might get details wrong. He got his car stolen, I think, like within 3 days of being in LA. And then like 5 days after that, he booked 2 Guys, a Girl on a pizza place. Remember that show?
I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
It was a sitcom that was on like ABC or something.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's the first job you ever... Like that was his first job you did? You know, and meanwhile, there's 1,000 people that have applied, that have auditioned 1,000 times. Well, there's more than 1,000 people, but you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So there's no... I think if you're the best accountant and you apply for the job, you get the job. Whereas I think in the world that you're trying to get into, and the world that I was in, it doesn't matter if you've got the best resume or the worst resume. It just depends what they're looking for. And so that can either be a binding thing, or you feel like it's out of your hands and that sucks, or it can be a freeing thing because it's out of your hands and that's great. It's just it's a matter, for me anyways, it was a matter of maintaining the right attitude about that. Like, oh, I had a pretty good resume. I did some pretty good things at ZKPG and received a fair amount of credit for some things. But if I apply and somebody else applies and he or she is exactly who this next place is looking for, they're getting the job. Right? So you kind of have to let that just be, because guess what? I could apply for a job where I'm the 18th best person, but if I'm exactly what they're looking for, I would get it. Right? So if I were you, I would just keep grinding. I don't know what the moral of the story is here. I think if I were you, I would just keep grinding.
Yeah, there's not much else to do.
Yeah, but look how you've done, how many GP Des PGs?
About 15.
Right. And the first handful were, I think the quality is improved significantly within 15. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it takes 115 to have quality improve. So you're already ascending in that sense. And your views are up, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I've seen the views on, let's say the Foodie Friday one or whatever. I think your views are up.
Yeah, 4,000 or 5,000.
That's a ton of views.
Yeah.
What I would do I do videos almost every day for UMBC. We don't get 4,000 or 5,000 views. And we have a page with 3,000 followers or something. Right? Built in.
Yeah, my page only has 200, almost 300
Yours
followers.
is being shared.
Yeah.
Right? And then consumed. And then liked and commented on. And then shared again. That's what you need.
And that's what we were aiming for.
Well, there you go. So if I told you 15 GP Des PGs ago, as a noun, that by number 15, this will be the quality, these will be the sound, this will be the audio quality, this will be the video quality, this will be the guests that you're getting, this will be the humor that you're putting into it, and you're getting 5,000 views per video, you'd probably take that.
Mm-hmm. Well, the first video got about 3,000 views, I think.
Sure.
Like it was.
Yeah, but if I gave you $30 and then I gave you $50, 50 feels like a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
It's significantly more. So take it.
Yeah.
And then the next step will be, maybe, how do you get to 7,500 views? How do you keep growing?
Yeah.
Or maybe you're in that spot where, like, I'm just going to produce a video a week and we're going to get 5,000 views. Well, if you do that, that's, I can't do math, 52 weeks. That's 260,000 views or something. That's a lot of views.
Yeah, I never looked at it like that before.
Wow.
It is. Oh,
This
man,
is
we
what
got to
I'm here
wrap
for.
up
Are
here.
we done?
88.7 CFUR. I didn't see when the minute turned over, but we got until 58.
Okay.
It's always tough to end these things. That was the worst thing I'm at. So 88.7 CFUR, Rich Abney.
Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, we should
I'm
do
gonna
this
keep
again
watching
sometime.
and sharing your videos. You're going to keep liking, commenting, sharing. Keep doing it, man. You're doing a heck of a job. I'm envious of you.
Oh, man, thank you. I appreciate that.
And good luck at your job interview.
Well, thank you.
I got to get a pair of suspenders. That's the thing that I've gleaned from today.
I never wear a belt again. Suspenders has been the way to go.
It's your
ever
style
since.
now. This is the GP Des PG look now. I like it.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
It is. Yes, it is.
I just started wearing a tie more often, get a dress shirt.
I got some ties if you want.
No, I got lots of ties.
I had a woman send me ties.
Really?
Yeah. That's a whole nother, that's for another podcast.